I'm Marcy Barron, and this is Mondays with Marcy. I'm your homeward bound guide to everything 5D living. I can't wait to share with you tips and tools to guide your personal transformation so that you can live a life that thrills you. Hello, and welcome to this week's Mondays with Marcy. I am Marcy Barron, your host, and this week we are going to be talking about the dark night of the soul. So many people on this planet, including many of my clients, are going through an initiation, if you will, something that is, in no uncertain terms, a deeply miserable process of growth that ultimately is about coming out of the other side of this in a different, higher, more embodied self. So, a dark night of the soul is a stage when a person undergoes a difficult and significant transition. And this can be brought on by illness, some sort of change that happens. It can be shown up in their identity, relationships, in their career, maybe their habits, their belief systems. And it's basically a painful shedding. It's a letting go. It's a questioning of all of the things that they might have thought to be true. And it's literally really uncomfortable because people who are going through the dark night of the soul, they don't have any hope. They have maybe no sense of direction. They feel helpless. They're maybe going through the motions. So I want to talk about this. And very often, when people are going through a dark night of the soul, it is like you're going along, all things are good, and then something comes and literally feels like it pulls the rug out from under your feet. And for me, that was the death of my child. So I was going along, and then all of a sudden I had this terrible loss. And I didn't really quite deal with it until after my two children on this earth were born and I went through a divorce, because just everything compounded into so much grief, so much sadness, so much victimhood that I couldn't not look at it anymore. And I think in like psychology, they call it like an existential crisis. Like, who am I? What am I doing here? But I will say on the spiritual level, it is an opportunity for deep growth, transformation, and coming into a place of higher consciousness. So for me, the loss of my child, I went for like, why is this happening to me? When ultimately it caused me to start questioning, why are we here? Does life go on? Is he somewhere guiding me? And it ultimately led me into this path of energy healing. So there is a separation, if you will, from who you used to be into fully stepping into who you are meant to be. And it's really uncomfortable. It can be really, 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 really uncomfortable. And there's a quote that I want to read by Hazrat Ayatollah Khan, Khan. There can be no rebirth without a dark night of the soul, a total annihilation of all that you believed in and thought that you were. So we are in a huge time of acceleration. We are going from carbon to crystalline. Our cells and our bodies are going from heavy to light. And everything that needs to go is going. And a lot of people who, even if you're on this path for a while or you haven't been on this path, everyone is really experiencing like boom, 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 lesson after lesson after lesson. We are literally needing to be, and I would say since 2020 with COVID, taking a look at who we are, what we believe in, and what we think of our own personal existence. So, a lot of people just living a superficial life, going day to day in their jobs, in their relationships, in their purpose, without a thought of why, what, or how they came to be here, their personal existence in the bigger picture, right? So in modern society, someone going through the regular motions, life can seem like you're going on autopilot. It's guided by the ego, it's based in money and validation of other people and all of the quote things, clothes, car, an attractive partner, all the things without a thought about who I really am. What am I doing here in a bigger purpose, as a bigger purpose? Your life's work in a place of service. Like, what am I here to do and give and be as a soul? And so there's been a big awakening on this planet since 2020. Many people are now questioning the authority in who and what we've come to trust for information, whether that be the government, whether that be doctors, whether that be the educational system. You may now take a look and see, what's really happening here? And for many, many, many people, this has shaken them out of their day-to-day limited perception of life. And what I will say is that many people, when this happens and you have physical symptoms of dis-ease that show up in the body. I know people who have been diagnosed with cancer, a panic disorder. All of these things literally make us stop, pause, and come out of this matrix, if you will, this 3D living, and start to go deeper into their healing, why we're here, and look at the bigger picture. So this dark night of the soul typically involves some sort of crisis, some sort of great disappointment, a heartache, and like I said, for so many people, illness. And what we're doing is, and what I do in my work, I should say, is supporting people to get to the other side. The symptoms that we have are information. They're giving us information, and it's pointing us towards what do we need to heal. The issues are in the tissues, right? So when someone's struggling with their sense of meaning, when someone is everything they thought to be true, it's really disorienting. It seems purposeless. There's no place that they feel like they belong. There's helplessness, there's victimhood. But what I want to say is, like the phoenix, when you go into the fire, when you go into the flames of purification, you literally can rise in a new emanation. And so many of us are going into this place to be reborn, to be renewed. And it's uncomfortable. It's not, it's like I'm saying this and I'm talking about this, but there's like a lot of intense feelings of sadness, of frustration, hopelessness, meaningless. Um, People are just, and I see it every day. So many souls are leaving the planet now. It's like a mass exodus because they just are not willing to go through the flames of purification. They don't want to go to do the work. So, the dark night of the soul, when people are faced with a choice point in their lives, they check out. And that's why there's just so much loss happening on this planet. I also have my other ideas and thoughts about the physicality of that and why that's happening. Um, and that's a choice point. And everyone makes their choices in a soul contract. And if you want to learn more about soul contracts, I did a prior podcast on it. But I want to say, like, the dark night of the soul, it's not a one night thing. There's no predetermined time, there's no normal experience. It can last for years, and it can be accelerated with support, like with someone like myself or any other person that you choose to work with. Because within this darkness hides extraordinary potential. Okay. Um, there is a diamond, if you will, as we turn from this heavy carbon energy into crystalline light. Now, people put off feeling everything with addictive pleasure, with trying to hyper control and manage and numb, and, in relationships that don't serve them, in these habits, these addictions that really aren't in alignment with who they truly are. They're just numbing and coping mechanisms. What needs to happen is there needs to be a lot of contemplation and meditation and work, literally, to move through this place. So it requires a surrender. And surrender is not a thing that you do in the mind. It's something that you literally have to just bow at the feet of the universe, of the divine, of God, and really surrender everything that isn't serving you. And it's really uncomfortable. I have an oracle deck from Alana Fairchild, the Light Worker Oracle. And she says, if you don't trust that love will hold you, letting go can seem like allowing yourself to fall into an abyss. A feeling of madness may plague you as you wonder if you are sane to leave a known world behind you and enter into the darkness of your own doubt and fear. You sense that the old self and the familiar ways will not survive this dark night. Even if you know in your heart that this sort of spiritual death is an opening to new life, it can still be profoundly confronting. So it is really difficult. And she says the only way to end the dark night is to go through it. So there's that saying, the only way out is through. The dark night of the soul ultimately becomes your saving grace. And many, many, many people are going through this advanced initiation. And you can seek out people like myself who have been through this. I feel like I've been through this many times, but I would say my first one was in 2011. 2010. I was like in that first wave of people waking up. Well, not the original first wave, but like remember in like 2012, like they said the Mayan calendar, like the end of the world. What that meant was the end of the world as we knew it. And that is when a lot of people went through the dark night of their souls to face, and I know I did this, to face my shadow, the parts of myself that were repressed, the parts of myself that were fearful, my traumas, my beliefs that just weren't serving me. And again, once you get through it, there's a treasure here. There is a treasure, right? So it's you're breaking down boundaries, you're breaking down beliefs, you're tearing down everything that you knew to be true of yourself. And it's not fucking easy. That's all I'm going to say. It's not easy. So there is so much love and support and guidance of people like myself that want to hold space for you and witness you in this place of shedding, that you are not alone. And this is a place and a space to fully come into rebuilding your life in accordance with who you truly are, and who you aspire to be. All right, so this is a choice point for many, 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 many people. And the dark night of the soul is a choice point. And many people are at this place. So from this beautiful Lightworkers Oracle of Alana Fairchild, I would like to read the invocation. Her words are just so beautiful. So if you can, where you are, and whether you're really deep in it or you're just in these little flames of transformation, which we all are, refining who we are, you could benefit from this invocation. So just close your eyes if you can, take a breath, and just receive this invocation as a transmission, a healing transmission. The dark night of the soul is love calling me into light, calling me to let go of fear, to release my every doubt and say instead, I know that love is more real, more powerful than anything else, always. So I accept love's power and grace, and I invite the healing presence of unconditional divine love into my heart now. Bring me the peace and spiritual blessing that I need to be freed from darkness and opened to the sweet light of love's truth. May all beings caught in darkness be assisted by unconditional love to see, feel, and know that the path of love is theirs forever. Through my own free will, so be it. Take a deep breath in and let it out. Put your hands on your heart, just giving yourself unconditional love, compassion, and acceptance of where you are. Thank you so much for being with me this week. If you know of someone who would benefit from this podcast, please forward it to them. I so appreciate you being here. See you next time. Bye. That's it for this week's episode of Mondays with Marcy. Be sure to subscribe to my newsletter at marcybaronclears.com. I also would love for you to follow me on your favorite podcasting app so that you don't miss a single episode. I'm Marcy Barron, and thanks for listening. I am so grateful you are here.